Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Sports in the Mitten, powered by Mr. Spots in Ann Arbor. I'm your host, Adam Biggers, Michigan and Michigan State beat writer for FanRag Sports. And today's topic, Michigan defense on the improvement week. It's not a bye week in Ann Arbor. Bye week, I have a list of terms I think that are no longer, we can't use them with Jim Harbaugh or the players. Bye week, there's no such thing as a bye week. To Michigan, it is an improvement week, and you would have thought that I learned this in 2015 and 16, but it's really starting to sink in now. No comfortable, no satisfied. Those words are not in Jim Harbaugh's vocabulary. So I want to talk about Michigan defense today. I want to talk a little bit about a feature that I have coming up with Chris Evans. I want to get to your guys' questions. I'm opening up the room right now. MIC Book, what's up, Adam? What's up, MIC? How you doing? Shane, how's it going? What's up, brother? Thanks for joining me, guys. Again, real quick before we get going, follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. You can read all my stuff on FanRag Sports, FanRagSports.com, at FanRag_U, and at FanRag Sports. And don't forget, audio-only versions of the podcast. In case you don't enjoy the live stream, if you caught if you missed the last one, you missed a John O'Corn demonstration that a few of you guys liked, so thank you. That was the highlight of the show so far. So watch the live stream if you can here on my YouTube channel. If not, you can check it out, the audio-only version, on iTunes, Google Play, and the FanRag Sports Blog Talk Radio channel. Rafael Sandoval, what up, baby? What's up? Wes Weber Jr., what is today's hat? Today's hat, guys, this is the Flint Wolves. This is my Flint CBL team that I co-manage with Doug Hyde. I also play second base until I recruited Mike Ross, who is at Mott College right now. Mike's out of New Lothrop. He is a badass, so really happy for him. So I don't have to be the everyday second baseman anymore moving forward. Also, real quick, I'm pretty excited. I'll have at least one of the Copley boys back. Luke Copley's at Rochester College. Caleb Peischer, he's at Rochester College, and a couple other ones. So Doug and I are already thinking of next summer for our Flint CBL team. But yeah, anyway, Eric313 says, I'm sad we have a bye week. And you know what, Eric? I asked, Ben Mason had brought it up. I asked John Runyon, and I brought this up before the bye week. And considering the momentum Michigan had, there's never a bad time for a bye week. And obviously they can't control it. But I was trying to think from like a player's perspective, and I had to believe that these guys want to go right now, and they do. And I mean, it's not such a, the 13-day layoff, it's not such a big deal, I guess. It's not, I don't think it's going to really do anything to slow them down, but considering it's a night game at Michigan State, I mean, it is an extended period, and when you're feeling it, you want to go out and play, and these guys are feeling it. So I imagine I imagine John O'Corn probably feels the same way. John Runyon Jr. Feels the same way, and I have some interviews, guys, from Tuesday night's availability. John Runyon Jr., I'll talk about the Ben Mason interview. Really liked talking with Ben. And again, that feature with Chris Evans. Those interviews are all on my YouTube page, guys. So please like, subscribe, and share. So let's get to these questions. Steve, how's it going? What's up? Headed for a lunch date, so only here for a minute. I would think with momentum they would love to play this week too. Yes, I agree. And Steve, lunch date. Is this a business lunch date or is this a date? You gotta do the test to see if she's a keeper, like on Bronx Tale with the door. You guys remember that movie, right? Oh, it's a business date. Alright, never mind. Sorry. Well, good luck. Yeah, I have to believe that they do want to play. And again, they can't choose when they have a bye week. But it's Michigan State is the next opponent too. These guys want to get at them. And Chris Evans made a comment. He said you got to watch out for number 23 coming back from last year. He's rowdy. They're going to have to pay attention to him. It wasn't a direct quote, but it's about that. I tweeted the direct quote on my Twitter. But they are thinking about Michigan State a little bit. They were asked about Michigan State, and I've had a couple comments. Alex Bricker, he mentioned on Facebook, he said that it just gives Don Brown an extra week to prepare for Michigan State. And, I mean, you can look at it, too, from that way. But I would think, as a player, that these guys want to get out there right now. Rafael Sandoval, is it me, or is Mike McCray the slowest guy in defense? I want to say that Mike was slow. I thought Mike looked pretty good against Air Force, especially against that option. Um, I mean, everybody else was really fast. Speed, I don't think speed has ever really been Mike's forte. He's a really heady player. And as a matter of fact, when I was on the conference call asking Jim Harbaugh about the defense, and thanks to Wes Weber for these fourth quarter stats, mentioning 62 plays or 63 plays, 152 yards, no points, and it's like 2.41 yards per play. And asked kind of how the defense, everything pertaining to Devin Bush. And Jim Harbaugh said that Devin, and I wrote about this, guys, on FanRag Sports. I'll tweet it again, but I'll read the quote actually right here directly from it. This is Jim Harbaugh on Devin Bush, and then it'll be Jim Harbaugh on the defense as a fourth quarter defense. This is Harbaugh and Bush. He says he's been very competent. I've seen great improvement. He came in as a really good player as a true freshman. He was playing as a backup and also played on all the special teams as a freshman, and he's grown and grown. This year, he's an ascending player. I would expect that he would continue to get better. And then Harbaugh also mentioned that Bush is benefiting, and of course everybody's benefiting, I think, from the guy next to him on this defense, but he said that Mike McCray is a great student of the game who's always in the right place, and that's certainly helping Bush playing alongside him. I mean, that defensive line with Mo Hurst and Rashawn Gary, I mean, Rashawn's drawing a lot of attention, and Chase Winovich is benefiting. Mo's benefiting. The linebackers. I mean, it's all. I like this term. I remember talking about speed and motion with Stan Edwards, and he used the term kinetic chain, and I like that term to describe it. Michigan's defense is a kinetic chain. Everything's just moving really well. So. Final quote from Harbaugh, and there's a couple more. He said, "It's a team effort, a team defense system that Don Brown has. At the front of the list is Devin Bush as far as talent and effort." And that's a direct quote. Harbaugh on the fourth quarter defense, and again, this is 63 plays, 152 yards given up, 0 points, 2.4 yards per attempt. Harbaugh says it's been good. They're getting off the field. This past ball game, 3 and outs. That's great because they're giving it back to our offense, who's controlling the football and going on 80-yard drives, 10-plus minutes in the third quarter. So, I mean, the defense in the fourth quarter and third quarter, but I mean the fourth quarter specifically, but Harbaugh was also mentioning kind of the second half against Purdue. I mean, we saw, I was really impressed. I think this was in the first half with Chris, or was that in the second half, that 11-play, 86-yard drive when he had the 10-yard touchdown? I'd have to go back and look, but anyway, you guys get the point here. Let's see. To your questions. Yeah, Mike Zabrowski, yeah, it's Chris Fry, number 23 is who Chris was talking about. And if we remember, Chris has been ejected during Michigan State. I believe it was last year, I think. Or the year before. I think it was last year because it was at home. Eric313, is Runyon going to be taking more snaps at right guard during the game? Yeah, Eric, I'm expecting to see more of John at right guard. Oh, Wes Weber says those were Drew Hollett's stats, not mine. Oh, okay, I apologize. Yeah, Wes and Drew are really good at stats. Matt Voltaggio's in the room too. Matt, you guys are really good with the stats. They hooked me up on the side. So if it's not work that I did, I'll say it. But if it's work someone else, some stats that I got from someone else, of course I'll cite them because I'm not taking credit for their stuff. So anyway, Jeremy Turner says bye week comes at a good time, gives the guys and coaches time to step back and see what adjustments need to make the team better. That's true, Jeremy, but at the same time, can you also kind of look at it from the perspective? I'm trying to convince you to agree with me here. Look at it from the perspective from a player standpoint. Look at what if you're John O'Korn right now? What do you want to do the most? You want to go play. Chris Evans wants to go play. Ben Mason wants to go play. And guys, check out that Ben Mason interview at the very end. Ben is a guy who's just really straight to the point, and he's just got this look in his eyes. Like you could tell that he's a really intense guy. Chris Evans said that Ben Mason is a really intense guy. So after I was done interviewing Chris, I hopped over, got in with Ben, and something Ben said. It was George Sipple of the Free. He asked him something about if he was scared, or if there's anything scared him, and Ben goes no, and I go never in your life, and he just looked at me and he goes nah, and I said okay, I believe you, and because you had to see the look on his face, it was so true. Tim Beck said I saw that. Wes Weber says, I love the Mason interview. I do think I could take him in arm wrestling, though. Maybe not. Ben Mason. Angelique came up to me afterward because, everybody got a little chuckle out of it. She goes, Ben would snap you in half. And I'm like, I know. Ben is a big dude, and you could tell. I mean, he's one of those guys. Think back to the comments that Jim Harbaugh was making about how he's born to play fullback. He loves the contact. And, I mean, you look at Ben Mason and you go, okay, I can see why. You don't even have to see him play. You can just look at him and say, all right, I can see why. Ben's got that. He called himself, he's a different guy, he said. And he thinks of himself as a veteran. He said mentality-wise, he feels like he's a veteran. This kid is a true freshman right now. Mike Sobrowski, in your eyes and just your own assessment of how the quarterbacks have played when healthy, who would you start? Okay, Mike, I've talked about this a little bit. Let's go play along here. This is all speculative and theoretical. I don't know how long Wilton Spate's going to be out. Jim Harbaugh said this week, Monday, that if they had to play this week, Wilton Spate would not be ready. So let's assume that this is going to be somewhat long term. This, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Who knows? And let's assume that John O'Korn plays, if not as well as he did at Purdue, and specifically in the second half, even close to that. Because that was the best quarterback play Michigan has got all year. From John O'Korn in the second half against Purdue. That was the best quarterback play. So let's say that John continues this, and he rattles off 4 or 5 wins. And Michigan's at, 8-0, 9-0, 8-1, something along those lines. And then they say, okay, well, Wilton Spate's healthy enough to play. Okay, Wilton Spate earned the job, earned the starter. He won Michigan a lot of games. There's no debating that. B, it is a meritocracy, right? Jim Harbaugh says that. So at that point, I think from a coach's view, you're looking at a guy, John O'Korn, who's in theory could have been played, 6 games. And then how many has Wilton played? He played 3 full games and part of the first quarter before he got hit by Eddie Robinson. Jim Harbaugh said that was an egregious hit. He was not happy about that. So at that point, you're looking at a guy who's 6-0 or 5-1 or whatever. You following me here? I don't see, if that were the circumstance, I don't see why Michigan would want to make a change. If I were Jim Harbaugh, I wouldn't make a change. He talks about the hot hand, riding the hot hand. And I mean, John O'Korn could certainly have the hot hand. Now let's flip it and say it is still an extended period of time, but John O'Korn does not perform well. Then I think it's, when Wilton's healthy, boom, it's his job. Let's say I'm not expecting Wilton Spate to start against Michigan State. That's just my opinion on it. And again, I don't have any inside info on this this time, but with Spate's injury this year. But that's just my guess. So let's say that John O'Korn, win or loss, I think Michigan beats Michigan State. Win or lose, John O'Korn plays, and then the next week they say, okay, well, Wilton Spate's healthy enough to go. Then I think you still go back to Wilton. Shane says, Spate is smarter, but O'Korn throws a better or more catchable ball hands down. Well, based on what we've seen so far this year, and again, guys, I don't know what Wilton Spate just didn't. I expected him to reach the level that he was playing at during those first 9 games last year. And he just didn't. Tim Beck says, Spate reads the field better and makes the right decisions, but O'Korn has a spark, reminds me of Favre, takes risks, but makes plays. I mean, you can't deny eye test-wise what we saw out of John O'Korn on Saturday. I mean, you just can't. And it was that he got the offense going. Sean McCune, 5 catches? Sean hasn't had a drop all year. And then again, with Zach Gentry, I think it caters in this going machine unit 1, I think you have to roll with O'Corn. The bottom line is that he throws a more accurate ball and can elude the pressure better. I'm thinking too, at least rhythm wise right now. I mean, a rollout quarterback, you buy that little extra time, if you want to go deep to your receivers, but you also have to remember that you have tight ends, running hitches, slants, curls, whatever, ins, outs. That I think benefits a rollout quarterback, right? Let's see if I could draw up the play here. John O'Corn, little right here. We see Zach Gentry. Boom. You guys see it? All right, good. I don't have any graphics. Sorry. All right, Zachary Hamden. I always said we need a mobile QB. Every QB in NCAA has a mobile quarterback. I mean, but Wilton's mobile too, right? I mean, last year the Penn State game, I remember writing about his mobility. People were starting to talk about that he does have mobility. He slimmed down a little bit, and guys in camp were saying that he was more mobile. He's mobile second. He's arm first, mobile second. I think with O'Corn, although I do respect John's arm, I think that John O'Corn's best attribute as a quarterback is to be able to do what we saw him do against Purdue. He is not as mobile as JT though. No, not at all. And I mean JT Barrett. I mean JT's dual threat. So yeah, I mean Wilton's a pro style. No comparison. I would almost classify John O'Corn as a dual threat quarterback. And if not a dual threat, he's a pro styler with dual threat tendencies. I guess if we're basing on what we saw against Purdue, because again I think, and a lot of that and I guess with dual threat they're designed runs too, so that's probably not the best comparison. John was making things happen with his feet, but bad comparison, my fault. Anyway, moving on. Eric313 says, wait till Joe Milton gets here. Joe Milton's got a rocket arm. He does. I like Joe. Wes Weber, I think Rashawn Gary is the most scheme-drawn player in college football, period. Agree. It'd be hard to argue against that. Definitely. Jimmy G, do you think Harbaugh's teachings only work with super athletic quarterbacks, keep or super smart ones? Rudock. Super athletic, Cap, sorry. Or super smart ones. Let me read that again. Do you think Harbaugh's teachings only work with super athletic quarterbacks or super smart ones like Jake Rudock? I don't know. That's kind of a loaded question. I think Harbaugh just in general, his teachings work well with a variety of different type of quarterbacks. Kaepernick's certainly a dual threat type of quarterback. It worked. I mean, we saw what he did with Andrew Luck at Stanford. Jake Rudock, a very smart quarterback. I mean, I think that Jim Harbaugh does look for it. Wilton Spate's a really smart quarterback. John O'Corn, I mean, of course, Harbaugh looks for a level of intelligence. I think, and he's never said this, and I'm just taking a guess here, but I'd almost bet that the athletic part of it is important. But separating factors for a lot of guys, not necessarily physical ones, but the intelligence, your ability to learn, that kind of thing. So I think that maybe it caters to the more intelligent quarterback. I don't know. That's a good question, Jimmy. Maybe I'll ask him that. Machine unit. We saw Wilton have an open lane, score a rushing touchdown, but with an open lane to score a rushing touchdown, he still tried to dump it off. Yeah, that was a poor decision. That was one of those passes when you realize he was about to throw it, you're like, no, he did it. Okay, at least it wasn't picked off. Darkman1212, welcome back, Darkman. No matter who plays between Spate and O'Corn, Michigan just needs solid quarterback play. The defense will take care of the rest. I agree on that. And again, the right side of the offensive line, that's something that needs to be addressed during improvement week. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I do expect to see more of John Runyon Jr. at right guard. Mike Sobrowski, who have you seen in the two deep D-line assert themselves and play the best so far? I mean, so much attention's on, Chase, Mo, Rashawn, I mean, even Brian Monet a little bit. I mean, I think Michael Dwumfor's done, Lawrence Thomas. And guys, I was talking about Lawrence, during the summer, and And during camp, I think Lawrence is due for a big year. Zachary Hamden, do you think the O-line can improve that much over the bye week? I don't know. I think the better question is, Zachary, not what I think, but I mean if it will or it better, I think is the right answer. It better improve during the, and it's an improvement week, Zachary. It's improvement week. No such thing as a bye week. Shane says, what's disappointing is the O-line struggles are mental breakdowns. It's not like they are physically getting dominated. And that plays a lot of it too. And again, I mean, you have Mike Onwenu and Nolan Aluzio, first-year starters on that right side. And, you don't have Braden and Magnuson any longer. Or Kalis. Mike Sabrowski says he's seen Aubrey struggle some. Jeremy Turner, Aubrey Solomon, and Lawrence Marshall. Yeah, Lawrence Marshall. Why did I say Lawrence Thomas? Lawrence Marshall, my fault. I'm thinking Lawrence Thomas from Michigan State for a second. I was just reading a little bit about New York Jets for some reason. I clicked on it and it was about Lawrence Thomas. Lawrence Marshall. Carlo Kemp. Jeremy says Aubrey Solomon and Lawrence Marshall. I was hoping Carlo Kemp would make a few more plays. Carlo's in there, but I mean, again, you have three of, right now, the best defensive linemen in the country. I don't think they're, I mean, Chase Winovich is right there in that conversation now. I mean, he's getting some national attention. Of course, Rashawn is at kind of a different level. Mo's at like a different level. But Chase is getting to where, I mean, Chase is on pace for first 10 All Big Ten, or first team All Big Ten, rather. Shane says he has faith in Greg Fry. Do you have faith in Drevno? Is that a question to me or a response to someone? Diddy8 says, right now, what's more unbelievable is Spate continuing to underperform or Corn continuing to have games like that in the second half. I don't know how to respond to that, Diddy, because I mean Wilton got injured, so I mean who knows what he would have done in that game against Purdue had he not been injured. I don't know how to answer that one. Over, under on how many years Don Brown stays with us, Jimmy G. Well, Brown said he's not interested in a head coaching job. He did sign a 5-year extension, so I think Michigan fans have him for 5 more years. But in the world of college football, 5 years is an eternity, more coaching in general. So I think Harbaugh's there for long term. Greg Madison's there long term, obviously. I think Don Brown's there long term, or at least for the term of his extension. Yes and no, Wes, because there are a couple factors. Do I agree with Jim Harbaugh on the hit on Wilton being egregious? I mean, egregious is a pretty strong word. I do think that the play was over with. I do think that Eddie Wilson had the opportunity to avoid Wilton. I do think that just the posturing of the body, I do think that he was going, if not to hurt him, hit his neck or head, he was definitely going for the upper body. I don't think that Eddie Wilson was necessarily trying to make a football play at that point. I think his intent was to get a little late hit on Wilton and hurt him or rattle him. I'm not saying that he was out to, cause severe damage, but the way that he did fall on him, and I mean the placement, I can agree that it was, Wilton was already on his butt. I can agree that there was no play to be made, and Eddie could have peeled back a little bit, changed his course. He did have time, so. 4 masterfuls. Wouldn't call it dirty, but uncalled for. Exactly. Robert Protzman says, I feel like Don would hate head coaching. Seems like he loves to focus on just defense. He's pretty good at it. Zachary Hamden says the secondary looks good. Yeah, and Harbaugh said it's played really well so far. I think something heck of a ball game or whatever. With very little fanfare is the term that he used. Very little fanfare. Lavert Hill and David Long play well. Brandon Watson's played well. Tyree Kinnell's played well. Josh Metellus has played well. Justin Green, hey Justin, welcome. Sherwoody14 says, I see that Michigan is the first program with 3 assistants making $1 million per year, so I think we should be good. Yes, yeah. This improvement week helps Ty Isaac, which is huge. We need him healthy, says Mike Zabrowski. Preston Prosper, is Ty Wheatley injured? Banged up. Hand issue, that's all I can confirm. For Masterfuls, perfect time for Masterfuls. It's not a bye week, man. Come on, it's improvement week. We've gone over this. Perfect time for the improvement week. We could see MSU face another pro-style offense and exploit them. That's another benefit of having the improvement week scheduled, or fall rather, before the game with Michigan State. I agree. Wes Weber says Michigan 24, MSU 23. I expect I'll get more into that. I'll get into a prediction next week. I know for Michigan right now, it almost is kind of Michigan State week because it is the improvement week. And sit back and see how Michigan State plays Iowa. I'll be out in East Lansing actually watching that Spartans and covering it, not just watching it, but Spartans Big Ten opener against the Hawkeyes. These games, and Michigan State, Iowa have always been close games. I was talking with Mark D'Antonio on the conference call and Kirk Ferentz, and even Kirk mentioned games even going back to the 80s, and he didn't even play at Iowa, and he was talking about the 84 and the 85 game. Both came down to final plays. If you guys remember 2009, Ricky Stanzi to Marvin McNutt as time expired. 2013, I think it was, Iowa won double overtime, 16-14. Mike Meyer kicked a couple field goals. It's been then 2015, LJ Scott going crazy on that 22-play drive. It was like 9-minute, 22-play drive, win the Big Ten championship game. So, I mean, these teams have just got, regardless of record, doesn't matter. I mean, Iowa and Michigan State match up well. Phil Parker, the defensive coordinator, Mark D'Antonio has a lot of respect for him. Phil played at Michigan State. Mark D'Antonio has long said that he kind of, when looking around at how to model a program, he's always looked at Iowa. And so there is a lot of mutual respect there. So, yeah, Iowa always, yeah, Michigan State, Iowa always also games. I'm seeing a lot of corn emojis in here. I think O'Corn allows us to use more of the bootleg stuff, which utilizes the tight end more, so that's a plus. I agree for Masterfuls, and I did a little. I tried to draw up a play with you guys with my fingers, but I don't have graphics, so it probably just didn't look like anything. But yeah, John rolling out. This is Zach right here. This is John. Throws the ball. See what I'm doing? All right. Thoughts on redoing both stadium locker rooms? Justin Green, what, at Michigan? Jimmy G, is the coaching staff trying to preserve depth, or are there really no better options than Uluzio at right tackle? I think that they just don't have. I think that there's just not one guy who's truly. Nolan has had to have been the most consistent because he won the job late in camp. So I think that he made a push because it was coming down at right tackle, Juwan Bushell-Beatty and John Runyon. And, you know, Mike Onwenu was going to be the right guard. I was sure of that. And then Juwan Bushell-Beatty or John Runyon Jr. As the right tackle. So when Nolan won that job, okay, then you're starting to think, well, late push, and he has to be better options than those. But I mean, Nolan has struggled right now, and I don't think that they're necessarily even settled on right guard and right tackle right now. Honestly, I think that's a section in the line that's you know, we could see some change there. And again, I think assume John Runyon Jr. is going to see some more time at right guard. I think that'd be fair. For Masterful says, awful finger routes, Adam. Do better, homie. I'll try. Awkward silence there. Wolverine RM1 says, Adam, I think O'Corn gives Wilton the time to heal both physically and mentally. We will need them both down the stretch. And yeah, and this in terms for Wilton Speight, this has to be a big week of just do whatever you have to do to clear your head. I mean, you're dealing with an injury right now. They're calling it soft tissue injury, no concussion. They did confirm that. I know that there's some speculation going on out there. I haven't been able to confirm anything, but it sounds like that this could be, something that lingers a little bit. So, with that said, this is important for Wilton because this is still his team, I believe, and to get injured and you were struggling already a little bit. Well, not a little bit, a lot. You were struggling, and to get injured, and now, I mean, it's just kind of worst case scenario right now. And then you see a guy, John O'Corn, who's been, battling for the top job for 2 years. And John came in and he played well in the opportunity that was there. So this is long. I explained it earlier, but I think if this is long term for Spate and O'Corn plays well, then it'd be hard to go back to Wilton, I think. O'Corn has always been a better slinger than Wilton, says Justin Green. Machine Unit, do you think the second half adjustments we made against Purdue would have benefited Spate the same way it helped O'Corn? And again, too, guys, I have to believe a little bit that some of this offense was, if not at least built around Wilton Spate, because it is a system, but probably tweaked in his favor. So, I mean, we might see some different type of play calling now because John is a different type of quarterback. That's a great point, Machine Unit. So, I do think, I mean, we saw a lot more tight end use, right? And I mean, I think that's something I've wanted to see. That's something everybody's wanted to see. I want to see more Khalid Hill. I want to see more fullback action. I don't think we've begun to even really see the power aspect of Michigan football in terms of, and I asked this question to Ben Mason just about being involved in a system that is predicated on power football. Everybody's talking about the wide receivers right now and things like that and the long passing game, but I mean, power football is fullback, tight end. Jim Harbaugh swore, and he is, Courage Ekwanye. Jim Harbaugh almost swore Wilton was Michigan's best quarterback. He is. That's why Jim Harbaugh, I mean, that's why Wilton's the starter. Out of Ohio State, Penn State, and Wisconsin, which game do you think will be the toughest to win? Maze Rage 19X wants to know. Well, as Wes pointed out, Michigan's the only ranked team on Wisconsin's schedule. Going to Camp Randall is difficult. I think that Penn State, I've been saying that Penn State was going to be a 50-50 game, and then with Ohio State, I mean, they've only beat Ohio State 3 times since I graduated high school. So this is I think Penn State at Penn State right now, if I were to look, or just, yeah. So I'll spit it out at him. Penn State is the one I think Michigan's probably most likely to lose as of right now. Ford Masterfuls is Wisconsin a night game. I don't know. Let me look. To be determined. That's what I thought. Courage, yeah, there's no debating. I've said that the John looked better than Wilton has all year, but I mean Wilton's still the best quarterback. There's Wilton Space just hasn't played like he played during the first 9 games of the year, and if you look at that Wilton Spate, that is the best quarterback that Michigan has. The question is, can Wilton Spate be that Wilton Spate? Wolverine RM1 says, if we ever get the offense rolling, we're going to be a very dangerous team. Defense and offense are going to continue to get better throughout the season. Marcel Wood says, what do you think about Harbaugh saying he's not a fan of night games? They're against his football sensibilities, he said. He's a traditionalist. I mean, who said that football games should be kicked off at noon? You guys know who said that. His mentor. Bo himself. Bo was all about the noon game. Shane says, how about that toss dive play with Evans? Took a play from Les Miles there. Love that play. Get the ball quicker to the backs. Courage says, night games are live. They are, but I mean, Harbaugh likes the noon games. Jared Hall says, if we continue to shut down Saquon like last 2 years, we could win by a couple touchdowns. I mean, Penn State's good, guys. I mean, I've been saying that. I know a lot of people in the beginning of the year were in preseason. Penn State were overrated. Penn State, Saquon overrated. Trace overrated. No, guys. Penn State is pretty good. Penn State also has guys, because in the Big Ten right now, there's some pretty good total defenses. Penn State has the number 17th overall ranked total defense. And while I'm at it, I might as well look at the total offense too, because I'm sure they're up there as well. Michigan has the number 1 ranked total offense in the country, which is no surprise. Penn State has the number 20 ranked total offense. So, Penn State's good. Don't count out Penn State. I think Wisconsin's good. I think Purdue is a decent team. Mike Sobrowski said, Evan voiced that play was a bust in practice, but it worked with the coaches saw in Purdue. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Machine Unit, Saquon versus Bush is going to be so fun to watch. And don't be surprised, too, if you see Saquon versus Kalik. Devin and Kalik, I think, are going to be on him. Wes Weber says, I think Wisconsin may be the only Power 5 team in the country that has one ranked team on its schedule. Still checking. Saquon's cold, says Curry. Yes, he is. Robert Pratzman, Saquon versus our defense will be fun. Absolutely. Marcel Wood says, or Metellus on Saquon. Yep. So you have 3 pretty good options there as far as, like, who do you want to throw at Saquon? Who do you want to disguise? I mean, you have 3 guys who have the ability to do that. That'd be Josh Metellus. He's backup Viper and a free safety. And then Khaleke Hudson, starting Viper. And then obviously Devin Bush. Wes Weber says, last year Michigan held Penn State under 200 yards. Yeah, and that's true, guys, but also I want to say that was not the same Penn State team. I mean, 49-10 was deceiving. If you just stopped watching Penn State after that game, didn't pay much attention to them, I mean, you missed out on some pretty good football. And again, Wisconsin had that Big Ten championship game wrapped up at halftime. And then you just saw one hell of a comeback from Penn State. And Trace McSorley, I said this yesterday. I did a little radio spot yesterday with Radio Johnny in Memphis. And Conrad, if you guys are watching, thanks for having me on. Basically, Trace McSorley has like all those scrappy qualities that you want in a quarterback. I think he's probably a top 10 quarterback overall. I would give him that in the country if we want to, slap some rankings on him. But I mean, other than that, I mean, he's not like particularly elite. He's got a pretty good arm. He can scramble. I mean, he's like 5. I think they list him at 6 or 6'1". He's like 5'11". I stood toe to toe with him. He was slightly taller than I was. Not a huge guy, but tough. Like, I mean, just really tough. And you talk to him, and you could see it. You could tell with these guys. They're so. At least I feel like I can. And Trace McSorley has that. And Trace has shown that. Look at that drive at Iowa. He had like a 12-yard rushing touchdown. They converted on 4th and 2. He was scrambling everywhere. That Jawan Johnson is wide receiver. I mean, Trace McSorley can make things happen. For Masterful says he has moxie and scramble awareness like a poor man Baker Mayfield. I mean, I like Trace. I really do. Robert Protzman says, I love how violently Metellus sheds blocks. Jared Hall says, because we made them one-sided by shutting Saquon. Offense comparable, says Wes Weber. Poor Masterful says Penn State had some injuries last year at that time. Marcel Wood says any scrambling QB does not scare me because of Devin Bush closing speed. It's almost scary. Devin Bush really, guys. We've mentioned this. This is starting to become a thing now that people. Devin Bush is one of the best linebackers in the country, and I would challenge everyone. Give me 5 linebackers who are better. I mean, even in the Big Ten right now, Devin Bush has the best linebacker in the Big Ten. I think Iowa might have to say something about that too, because I think Josie Jewell is pretty good, and he just won some. Let me find it here. I have a release from Iowa. He just won a award. We're gonna wrap this up, guys, here shortly. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I'm trying to find this email here. Should have probably had it up already. Also, I want to mention that Michigan has 3 guys top 50 in the country with sacks, and Chase Winovich with 5.5. He's only 2 behind the national lead. Chase is number 3 overall, and who else am I forgetting? Devin Bush 4.5, and then Cleek Hudson has 3, and Cleek's down at the, and it's early. There's gonna be a bunch of guys who are all jumbled and everything, but there's 3 guys in Michigan has top 50 in sacks right now, and then obviously the Chase Winovich on the ascent. Defensive line looks really good. Defense as a whole looks really good. Next episode, I'll find 5. Okay, that's a challenge, guys. Next episode, my challenge is find 5 linebackers right now, based on this year, that are better than Devin Bush. That's a fun project. Sure, Woody says that sack number includes playing Air Force, who only dropped back a handful of times. I know, yeah, Air Force ran the ball 49 times, only attempted 9 passes. Aaron Worthman was 1 of 7. Nate Romine was 0 for 2, and that Worthman pass that connected, that was a long touchdown, a 63-yard touchdown. Marcel, no, he won't. Marcel said he's going to find 5 linebackers that are better than Devin Bush. I'm looking forward to that. Is Rashawn getting double teamed? Yes, he is, Preston. Courage Ikwanye says Devin Bush so cool it's not even funny. He's a violent hitter. He's fast. He's always around the ball. I mean, Jim Harbaugh said he's at the front of the list in terms of talent and effort. I don't feel like I can't say decisively that he is the best running back or linebacker in the country, but I could say that he is certainly one of the top 5. You got to put him there based on what we've seen this year. The stats are there as well. Running backs clip Gary All. Yeah, and it's funny. I'll end the show on this, guys, because I want to go eat lunch here. Remember Air Force when Rashawn got to Arian Worthman, the quarterback, and popped that ball loose like 10 yards. Rashawn said that they had been chop blocking him during that game, so he said they got off a chop block, and I think it was running back that he got off the chop block, and then bam, got to Arian. But they got to do whatever they got to do to try to stop Rashawn, and of course it's going to involve chop blocking and things like, because you can't stop Rashawn with conventional measures. Offenses fear Gary, I'm telling you, says Kurjak Wane. Jimmy G says, can you name anyone college or pro with better closing speed than Devin Bush? I mean, I'll keep it to the college game right now, and I mean, off the top of my head, no, I can't. I can't tell you right now. And of course, I mean, I see a lot of Devin Bush. I see a lot of Michigan football. I pay attention to college football as a whole. I think that you have to if you want to be good at this. But I mean, from what I've seen from Devin Bush compared to what I've seen from at least other teams that Michigan has played, there's really no comparison. It's a big comparison though. Jimmy G's Jimmy G's swinging for the fences right now. All right, guys, it's almost 45 minutes, so I want to thank everybody for watching today's live stream on my YouTube channel. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends, family, anybody that cares, that wants to chat about Michigan football, Michigan State. I'll have some stuff this weekend. Again, I'll be out at Michigan State versus Iowa on Saturday. I'm working on this Chris Evans feature. I'm going to go back to high school, talk to Coach Kirshner a little bit. And real quick story, Chris Evans was given the playbook to Ben Davis high school varsity football as an 8th grader. So there's a lot to Chris Evans if you want to talk about a guy who knows a lot about football, the X's and O's, you know, one of those students of the game. Chris Evans is one of those guys. So I'll have a feature coming up on that and kind of looking back at how Chris developed at Ben Davis into the type of running back that he is and can be right now. So check that out on FanRag Sports, fanragsports.com, at fanrag_u. Follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. You can follow the podcast at Mitten Sports MI. Like on Facebook, Sports in the Mitten. You can find on iTunes, Sports in the Mitten, SITM. We're on FanRag Blog Talk Radio as well, and Google Play. So I think that's all the plugs for today. I want to thank Tim and Keith down at Mr. Spots in Ann Arbor. Now it's the improvement week. I'm not really down there, so I'm going to have to double up next week on Mr. Spots, 808 State Street. And again, have some food and football stuff, you know, during the off season. Last year had Eric Magnuson and Matt Godin. That was a lot of fun trying to hang with a defensive lineman and an offensive lineman in an eating contest. Probably not my best decision, but I can eat a little bit. But those guys are pretty big. So anyway, if you're in Ann Arbor, go to Mr. Spots. Keep listening to the show. I appreciate it, guys. I'll talk to you next time.